Hi and welcome to the Tricky Session. I'm your host Adam Crosswaite from the Cricket Alliance, joined tonight by my co-host Simon O'Brien from the Rocket Factory. We were lucky enough to have a tricky session with former Australian opener Matthew Elliott, who dominated the 97 Ashes series and talks about the current 23 series as we head into the second test at Lords. Join us for a live session of the Tricky Session, live from Tricky Wicket in Malvern.
We can clap.
So the Tricky Session is newly begun and started. My co-host tonight, which I'll hand over to, is Simon O'Brien from the Rocket Factory, who will introduce our guest for the Tricky Session.
Thanks very much.
Go right up.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me? So I guess our guest tonight is Matthew Elliott. Matt played 21 tests for Australia. Highest score 199.
You know it's
199. We'll dive into that a bit later, but I want to talk, 23,000 domestic runs, 67 centuries, 13 wickets.
67 centuries, is that?
Across the toe.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And then 13 wickets. Talk to me about the wickets.
Welcome.
13,
real high.
13 people that I would like to thank today for generously donating their wickets to me. 13 highlights of my career, actually.
Unseen, though. They're not anywhere.
No, they're not anywhere, but just Shane Watson was one, and I just genuinely enjoyed it. Up above the eyes, Crossy, just dropped it on him.
Yeah.
Declaration bowling, but I won't mention that. No, I've got a pretty good stable, actually. Shane Watson, Mark Waugh,
Yep.
Jamie Cox, Dean Hills. Bit of an opener theme there as well, so very happy with my 13 wickets.
Lovely. And how many's your son got so far?
3? 4? What? 4, that's a long way from 13.
Yeah, so he's got
It's a long way from 13. So I'm pretty comfortable at the minute. I'm very comfortable.
Yeah, and he is talking up his batting quite a lot, saying he averages more than you, but I think he's about 30,000 runs short, so we'll see how he goes on that front.
Yeah. Very shallow. He's got, a couple of innings. We need something. We need longer.
So Herbie, everybody that talks about the Ashes and Matthew Elliott talks about the 199. We had to start with it, so can you talk us through the 199 and how it all went down?
So are we just walking past the 112 at Lords, are we? Are we just dismissing that?
We can come back to it.
Can we circle back to that at all, or not?
We'll come back to
That's
that.
the second point.
Yeah, right. Headingley was a bit the wicket.
Yep.
I think we were 3 or 4 for not many, which we had Tubby opening at that stage, and he was batting with the wrong end of the stick, so we were pretty much 1 for none. But no, look, in all seriousness, the thing I was probably most proud about that innings was it was a bit in the wicket, and I decided to be really positive. Generally, I was a bit stodgy. I always took a bit of time to get going, but I took adopted Crossy's approach and was a bit more aggressive. Or Baz Ball.
Yeah.
And other than being dropped about 3 or 4 times, you drop by. Who was the quick Devon? If you drop by Devon Malcolm, it doesn't count. He was legally blind.
Yeah.
That was the thing that was probably most pleasing. I sort of put a bit of a plan in place to be pretty aggressive, and it came off. So it's always nice when a plan comes into, isn't it? Once it comes off, I'll take it.
199. One of the next lead-in obviously is we're at Lords. Most of us here would probably rather be at Lords. I think my old man said that about 15 times. He'd rather be at Lords than here, but we're all stuck here. Can you just take us, I guess, through the feeling of playing cricket at Lords, playing cricket for Australia in a test match, and then getting 100, as we said, I told you we'd get back to the 100 at Lords, but the 112 at Lords in the second test, 97. Can you take us through, I guess, the feeling and the aura about, I guess, clocking cricket?
It's hard to put into words the feeling walking into Lords on a test match day. It's just because you stay in London as well. It's busy. There's a lot going on, and then to go into the ground and the pavilion, the whole feel of it is something. It's really hard to put into words. But we're probably always a bit lucky that game as well, in that there was a lot of rain around, and we needed to sort of get on with it to try and create a result. And so we sort of played pretty positively, and that sort of came off as well. So it's a bit of a theme in the series that I would probably played a bit outside of what I would normally do. But again, to get 100 at Lords was my first as well. So pretty good place to do it. And then got the name up on the honour board in gold embossed writing was something that I'll always keep with me. So yeah, very happy about it.
Have you shown the kids? Have you gone to Lords and...
Boys wouldn't know. No, they wouldn't know what's going on, the boys. So no. Sammy's he's forgotten about that. Now that he averages more than me in first class cricket, he's just forgotten about the fact they got 100 at Lords.
So the English have won the toss and bowled, I believe. Sob, I'll go to you, Sob, from the Rocket Factory point of view. 4 quicks at Lords. What's the thinking there?
I think that they've look like they've given a lot more on the wicket, so it's a lot greener, but I think it'll flatten out pretty quickly. I think they've made the wrong call. Picking Josh Tong's an interesting one, because if you had the full option to go Mark Wood, I'd go Mark Wood. But I think come day 3, day 4, with the weather they've had in London being warm, I think it's going to backfire on them. Herb, what do you reckon?
Scotty Boland just not averaging 10. His average is 10 less than Stark. His strike rate's 10 less. No grace for Scotty Boland, or is this just the New South Wales Mafia again, crossy with selection, or
who would you prefer to face at Lords, Boland or Stark?
I just think Stark gives you enough to score off. I know this is the Baz Ball theory and whatever, but you've got to give him a game's grace as well to try and counter-attack their strategy as well. So from Victorian, pretty disappointed to see Scotty get to miss out, but it's a bit of a New South Wales Mafia happening, so we understand that, don't we?
Yeah, disappointing.
I guess since we're on the topic of Baz Ball, just want to really get your thoughts on, one, what you think about it, and what it is, what you think it is, and how you really saw that first test, predominantly from a Baz Ball / batting perspective.
I'm a huge fan of Baz Ball. I love what they stand for. I think McCullum and the skipper, Stokesy, they stand for moving the game forward. They want results, and they're going to back themselves in to be on the right side of the result. They don't want to play draws, and I think the long-term future of the game is embedded in the philosophy of how they want to play. So I was really disappointed to read commentary around criticism around Stokes' declaration.
Yeah.
It's easy to come up with criticism when you don't win. You don't get the result that you want. It takes a lot of courage to move the game forward. If he doesn't declare, do we get a great game? So I laud the fact that they play in the right way. I think they need wickets with a little bit more in them will suit their style better.
Yeah.
And I love the philosophy of how they want to play. So I'm a huge Baz Ball fan. They obviously need to create more time to take wickets. And I think there's a psychological element to what they're doing, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting to watch. It's creating a lot of interest around cricket. So pretty disappointed in the commentary of the negative criticism around Stokes and McCullum. So?
Yeah, look, I agree. I think Stokes made the right call. Like, no one wants to go out and bat that last 15, 20 minutes to an hour. Like, as an opener, you walk out there and you're under the pump. And if they had gone 1 or 2 wickets, then it puts Australia completely on the back foot. From a bowling and an attacking perspective, from an England perspective, Crossy, and this is probably a question for you, what do you think about the Bairstow selection over someone like Foakes?
Yeah, I think the wicket-keeping selection's been an interesting one. It's a tough one. I think Foakes definitely gives you a better glove work, and he probably takes those chances that Bairstow missed, and whether they were costly enough for England, they've stuck with Bairstow. I think Bairstow's a pretty good package. I think the way he fits in with this Baz Ball mentality, I think is a huge one. He's batting. He's got a big leg up with the bat. His keeping's generally not too bad, but again, he's been out of the game for a while. Coming back in is a tough one. So I'd still be sticking with Bairstow, and I'm glad they have. And I'm with you, Herb. I think the Baz Ball mentality of what's going on is super exciting for Test cricket.
They take their chances, they win. They take their chances, they win. So they just got to execute better. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with their philosophy or their strategy. They just got to take their chances.
100%.
Yeah, we're talking about Baz Ball a lot, but I guess, talk about the environment that you guys were in. Like, in comparison, was it as freewheeling as was freedom? Was there, I guess, trust in you to do what you wanted to do, or was it very much let's follow this process and this is what we're going to do because this is the way Australia plays cricket?
I probably thought about this the other day when I reflected on an Australian A tour or young Australian tour to England, and the players that I played with, they played in a certain way where you felt like you had to conform, which is to play more aggressively, and I think that's what Australian cricket was.
Yeah.
And I think now that England has pushed so far ahead with a really attacking, it makes us look a bit pedestrian.
Yeah.
And we probably held the forefront of that style of play because that's just the way you actually played. And it was the players that you played with that drove the style. Exactly like Stokes gives them permission to play that way.
Yeah.
So you need people that are going to drive what you want. And you don't get punished for you don't get punished for doing that.
Yeah.
But I felt like at the time in Australian cricket we were doing that, probably not to the same extent.
Yeah.
But you got swept up in it because the players you played with played that way.
Yeah. I guess that leads probably to the next question: is how do you think Australia combated the English in the first test, and what do you think the Aussies need to do to win the Ashes?
I think we've got to stick to the way that we play, and it'll be interesting to see what Cummins does this test. If there's something in the wicket and they start to score, does he go defensive or does he back himself in to keep attacking fields to try and take wickets to bowl them out?
Yeah.
But I think for us, it's no good trying to match their specific style. I think Ronnie and his team will have a way that they think that they're going to match up and win, and it's about staying true to that. If you can stay true to that, you give yourself the best chance. You can't. I think it's really difficult to change midstream to try and match them. I think we play our way, they play their way, and we see what happens at the end. But we've got to stay true to our style, and I think that they will.
Yeah, so look, I think Australia panicked a bit. I don't think we were prepared for them to go as hard as they did, and for it to go as well as it did. I think that Cummins immediately putting point out, immediately having the man on the leg side, I think there was a little bit of fear there, which you typically don't see from Australian teams. And so the moment they were on the back foot, is that I think that this really hurt Boland by having point out. His biggest weapon was building pressure over a long period of time. So he's immediately got guys going 1-1-1. He has to then try and do something different, which he's been ingrained in doing for 10 years as a professional. So I'd like them to be just a tiny bit more aggressive. You can't go all out attack because it could really backfire, but have the confidence in your ability to perform and put them under pressure with really, really good balls. Because at the end of the day, if someone's trying to slog you, a good ball's still a good ball. In T20 cricket, guys don't get hit for 4 every ball. So I think I'd like to see Cummins a bit more attacking, and I think the bowlers as well. The Yorkers, the bouncers, don't be afraid to try off pace. Keep point up. I don't mind the leg side out, but at least don't let that easy single happen. If he wants to bash you through the offside, good luck to him.
So Herb, we'll finish up just before the first ball's about to be bowled, but who wins this? You've had a look at the wicket. What do you think about it? The English are going to bowl on it first. How do you think that Lord's wicket will play? And who wins the second test?
I think if there's more in the wicket, they'll win. Because I think they'll come out and they'll be aggressive and they'll score enough runs to put us under pressure. And then I think that'll be great for the series as well. So 1-1 going into the third. I'm hoping we have a series to rival 2005. But I think if there's something in the wicket, I think they'll go all right, and I think they'll win.
Perfect.
I think England will win as well. As much as I don't like it, I think Jimmy Anderson will probably take it back for the wickets. Can't stand him, but I think he's a wonderful bowler, and you put him in those conditions, I think he'll be unstoppable. What do you reckon, Crossy?
Perfect. I've got the Aussies going up 2-0, so I'm happy that the Aussies are batting, and I think it's going to be a great time. I think it's a Test cricket. I think Baz Ball has just rejuvenated this Test cricket, and the Ashes, not the needs rejuvenating, but it just gives it something a bit extra. So, look, guys, Matty, thank you so much for coming out, having a bit of a chat. It was a live podcast. Sorry that the sound wasn't a little bit louder, boys. And thank you to Matthew Elliott for being our first ever guest on Tricky Session. Thank you to my co-host Simon O'Brien, and a huge thank you to Tricky Wicket.
256 Glenferrie Road, Malvern. Get down for an amazing feed from food from test playing nations all around the world, amazing beers and a lot of cricket on the screen. So thank you very much for Tricky Wicket for hosting us tonight and for the live crowd. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and until next time on the next Tricky session where we open the batting with another guest. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you next time.